Hello, I am Sarah. I'm an aspiring YA romance author, and I am currently dealing with revisions with my current project. It is Project Psychic. It is what I hope to be my debut novel, and I am still in the works of my chapter outline before I delve into draft 2. And it is a lot of mental work, of course. It's been a lot to juggle. And I've wanted to work on a side project before I go into draft 2. So that's what this video is going to be about. This side project is meant to be a novella, so not too long, word count wise. And it is connected to Project Psychic in that it is a story within this story. So the side project is a book series within the world of Project Psychic. And it's meant to be a very popular book, a very well-loved book, but it's also meant to be not the best written, but still loved. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to actually try to write. And I thought it would help with Project Psychic, but it would also just be a fun side quest, you know? I want to go a little wild with it, so I want to be tropey, I want to be cheesy, I want just, you know, let it be what it's going to be. So today I'm just going to start with brainstorming. Maybe I'll get into outlining. We'll see how far I get. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, welcome back to my desktop. And I've already got my Google Doc open to Project Ghost Town, which is what I'm calling this for now. And I prefer Google Docs. I don't use Microsoft Word anymore because I was traumatized over losing documents back in college, so it's just been hard to go back. And then I know a lot of writers like to use Scrivener. I've never tried it. I have thought about, giving it a whirl, but I'm just not sure. I feel like I'd have to do more research and just see if it's something I'd really like to transition into. But let me know if you guys use it, if you guys would recommend me using it as well. So I'll give you a little tour of my Google Doc. I have several tabs. I have notes, which is just, I have some pictures with the aesthetic that I'm going for. And then I have my brain dump, which is really just notes. And I usually take notes on my phone just because I always have my phone. And so wherever I am and whenever I get ideas, I can just jot them down. And then later I can just dump them here. There's a tracking page for whenever I start writing. I don't think I'm going to start writing this anytime soon. I think I just want to brainstorm a little bit, get the creative juices flowing, and then focus back on Project Psychic. So, not sure when I'll actually get to writing this. But yeah, this is where I will keep the word count, and then characters. I'll usually have pictures, and I'll have pictures of actors. And it's not, these actors I put on here, they're usually not an exact match of what I envision. It's just like who I would cast and who would be the closest. So I would put a few pictures, one from the title, the movie or show that I think would best fit, and then also just a headshot. Basic outline, which is, this is usually what my longer outline is. That has all the details. Sometimes I'll throw in quotes, random notes, all that stuff. And then the graveyard, so just whatever I end up tossing. And I think it's always good to have a graveyard because we hate to kill our darlings. We hate to delete things when it's taken us time to really think them out and write them down. So just so we have a place. Okay, so back to the notes page. And let me give you an idea of how I come up with ideas. So I'll always have ideas swirling in my head, and the way they come, it's usually premise, character, random story beats, and the ending. So I'll know what it's about. I'll have a pretty good idea of the characters who'll be involved. I'll start picturing what they look like, what roles they're going to play, and then I'll just have certain scenes come to mind, and they'll be all out of order. I'll just have random scenes that will need to be sewn together. And then the ending. For some reason, I always know what the ending is going to be before the beginning or before most of the meat of the story. So yes, I will be getting into spoilers, but that's okay. I don't plan on ever publishing this. This is strictly for fun. And all right, I think we should just dive in. So Project Ghost Town. This is kind of the vibe I'm going for. I have pictures from the movie, the horror comedy movie Weapons, the TV show Supernatural right here, and then a couple pictures of Texas because that's what I picture for the setting. Small, kind of cozy town in Texas, which I lived in Texas for a few years. I lived in a small town, and I just really like that kind of environment for a horror mystery. Which brings me to genre. Let's start with that. Sorry if you can hear my typing. My keyboard is obnoxiously clacky. But genre, I am going for a YA, paranormal romance, horror, mystery. Can I spell mystery? Thriller. Okay. And then my premise. So things are still a little foggy, but essentially what I'm going for is my main character, Blair, loses her best friend, Landon, in a tragic accident. What that accident is, I'm not sure yet. And she's been trying to locate his ghost because it's just something that they promised each other when they were young, that if either would die, that they would try to find the other's spirit. With the help of Landon's cousin and the town weirdo, she does find Landon's ghost. Together, the three of them try to figure out how he died. And how should I word this? Yeah, the three of them try to solve his mysterious death, as well as the mystery surrounding their town. I think that sounds good. If not, that's okay. This is meant to be messy. So tropes. Okay, so what comes to mind? I think I want to add insta-love. I know, but this is meant to be cringy. Insta-love. There will be a love triangle. I think I also want to add first love in there. Not like other girls. I know. Stay with me here. Oops, can't spell. Running bad boy. And then also, amnesia. Because there will be amnesia involved with the ghost character. The theme I'm going to save for later, because I think we usually figure that kind of stuff out as we're writing it. But I guess if I'm just going off what's in my head right now, I guess for now I can say you can let new people in your heart without forgetting those you've lost. Yeah, I think that works for now. Now let's get to the brain dump. And I think I'm just going to read what I have so far, just so you guys know what I'm working with, what you can see what's been working around in my head. So my main character, Blair, is grieving her best friend Landon. Landon had always joked he would haunt her if he died. She looks for him to no avail. A sudden series of hauntings happen. Blair partners up with the weirdo of her class, Micah, who claims to have seen ghosts. They investigate several houses. It's young kids that are going missing, which is where the movie Weapons kind of comes in. Around 12 to 14 years old. Maybe Blair knows the most recent kid, or she knows a kid taken later. The duo solves one or two cases before finding Landon. The duo hears of an angry spirit at a certain location. They discover it's Landon, and that he's become a vengeful spirit. He, Landon, agrees to help them solve their paranormal cases if they help him figure out how to move on. Micah and Landon are cousins. Their dads are brothers, but haven't been close since Landon's dad remarried. After Landon died, Micah went looking for his ghost but was unable to locate him until Blair. Landon haunts a specific area. They can't figure out why. It's not his house, not where he died. Doesn't seem to have any significance. They later learn that he did die there. The reveal, and then obviously getting into spoilery ending stuff, reveal is that his stepmother was kidnapping and murdering kids. Landon found out about it and told Dad, but realized Dad was helping her, and Dad killed him. Blair's grieving gets complicated as past feelings for Landon arise. Micah tries to help her grieve, and she does develop feelings for Micah as well. At one point, Blair has a near-death experience and becomes a ghost alongside Landon. She wants to stay with him, but he convinces her it's not her time. So you can kind of see how I sometimes just get random scenes I want to throw in there. So I just want to add in another note that, so in the town of name, placeholder, it is known that 3 young kids go missing every year. So I want this to be like what the town is known for. They're known for these disappearances, and there will be gossip, there will be all these rumors, whisperings going around. But yeah, no one ever knows why. And then, as we know from my notes, where is that? Here. It's because the stepmother was kidnapping these kids and murdering them. And these are going to be the ghosts that are inhabiting the town, along with Landon. Landon being the extra victim that was not meant to die, but he knew too much. So I think it'll be interesting for this town to have this pattern of the 3 kids going missing around the same time every year. I haven't thought about this enough. What initially came to mind was maybe the stepmother had 3 children that she lost, and she then felt that she wanted to take 3 children away from other people so that others would then have to deal with the same grief, which is dark. This stepmother character is going to be dark. Okay, now let's think about the characters a little bit. Blair, the actor I'm thinking of for her is Jenna Ortega. Specifically thinking of her in Scream 5, just that look. And I already have the pictures for her. Blair, I'm not sure about the surnames just yet. For nicknames, I'm not sure yet. Gender, female, sexual orientation, think of her as bisexual. Age, what age do I want them to be? Thinking 16 to 17. Race, I want her to be Latina. Appearance, dark brown, shoulder length hair, curtain bangs, big brown eyes, full mouth, freckles across nose. Style, I want her to be a little on the gothic side. So I'm thinking of like my high school experience, and I wasn't necessarily goth. I feel like I was a wannabe goth in that I mostly just wore a lot of black, wore a lot of like skull and crossbones graphics, like the band t-shirts you would get at Hot Topic. So do I want her to be like high school me, or do I want her to be like an authentic goth? I feel like I could have fun with that. I'd say, let's say authentic. Goth. So wears all black, wears combat boots. Is that a bit overkill? Is that too much? Actually, you know what? Because I think this character is probably going to be short, I should also put that in appearance, actually. I think she'll probably be like 5'2"-ish, 5'2". Let's say she likes wearing platform shoes. That sounds right. Job? Am I gonna want her to have a job? I'm gonna say no. Let's say unemployed high school student. Religion, I'm going to say she's agnostic. So she's open to believing in things. She's just not sure. But of course, once she gets involved with the ghosties, things are going to change. Relationship status, single. Desire. Well, desire, I would say, what I'm thinking now is, no, I don't want you to be bold. She wants to find her friend, her misbelief. So I guess going along with that, I guess in finding her friend, she'll be able to properly deal with her grief. And the thing I want to explore with her is that she thinks everything will be okay if she just finds Landon, if she can just have him back in her life somehow, even if he's, unalived. But it's gonna have to be something for her to accept that he is dead and he will have to move on. So she can't just cling on to him. Personality types, I feel like that's something I would have to come back to. Usually with my projects, I figure out their personalities. The more I get into plot and more I see how they work their way through the plot. Love language. What would her love language be? What are the love languages again? Yeah, this is when I need Google. Okay. Love languages. So let's see, what would work for Blair? I feel like quality time or physical touch. Because if it's physical touch, I feel like that would be really heartbreaking with her, being in love with a ghost. Yeah, let's make it physical touch. Because I'm evil like that. Okay, so cold touch. Her habits, interests. Let's see. I guess I could just try to make this up on the fly and, of course, figure it out as I go. Habits. Let's say she's a nail biter. Often chips her nail polish. She's a nail biter. Let's say she overthinks every situation. That's okay for now. And then interests. Let's say, I guess it's obvious, but horror movies, horror fiction. Is she going to be a reader? I don't know. And we'll just say that for now. Horror movies, horror fiction. Let's say she's interested in animals / nature. And I guess because her and Landon have talked about ghosties before, I would say she's also interested in the paranormal in general. Okay. And then fears. Well, obviously, losing loved ones. For the most part, I want her to be fairly brave and bold. So I don't want her to be afraid of bugs, insects, the dark, heights, things like that. I want her to be pretty brave. So her fears are a little deeper, not being enough. I think that would work too. And then family. What's interesting is I haven't really thought so much about her family as I've thought of the other male characters in their family. So I'm not sure about her. I feel like she would live with a single parent. I'm not sure if it would be with a single mom or single dad. I'm feeling single dad. Yeah. Let's say single dad for now. Maybe she also has a little brother. Maybe the little brother is one of the kids that gets taken. And then I think I would want her grandparents to also live with her. So single dad, little brother, and the grandparents. And I think I like that. So the grandparents kind of help the dad out. And they have a nice little cozy family. I like that. Then friends, we have Landon, deceased. Sorry, Landon. And then eventually we'll have Micah. For the most part, I think I want that to be it. I just want her to have had the one best friend, and they were just each other's world. They didn't really have other friends, so that kind of really adds to her grief. It makes her feel even more alone in that she doesn't have too many people in her life other than her family. Segue to Micah. And so here's the thing. With Project Psychic in this story, I'm not sure if I want these two male characters. I'm either going to make them white or Asian, and it really depends on what I do with this story in Project Psychic. So yeah, I still don't know what I'm doing with that. If they're going to be white, for Micah, I was thinking Mason Thames. And Mason Thames, I'll just show you, but he's been getting pretty popular lately. I've noticed him and pulse. I've been a fan of him since the horror movie Black Phone. I thought he was great in that. If I were to picture Micah, I think it would be him in Black Phone 2. So this look. And then if I were to think of Landon, I was thinking of, this is very basic of me, but I was thinking of Logan Lerman, specifically in Percy Jackson, of course, because I'm basic. So, yeah, this look. And I've had a lot of projects, and Logan Lerman has popped in my mind for a lot of male characters. He's just got that cute, basic white boy look. But yeah, I also think these two could work. I could buy them being cousins, and then also working with Jenna Ortega. I just think, can you see the vision? But I think I'm leaning towards making these characters Asian. So, if that's the case, for Micah, I was thinking of this actor named So Ji-hoon. So, that's a good headshot. So Ji-hoon is a Korean actor. He's been in a few projects that I really liked. I think I would picture Micah to be So Ji-hoon in Solomon's Perjury, which is a high school legal drama from a few years ago. Quite a long time ago, actually, not just a few years. But, let me see. Yeah, I guess this picture works. And then while I'm looking for pictures, I might as well look for Landon. So, Landon, I was thinking Lee Do-hyun, one of my favorite Korean actors. That's a nice headshot. You may recognize him from a bunch of big Netflix titles like Sweet Home or The Glory. I personally loved him in 18 Again. That's one of my favorite K-dramas of all time. I know it's not giving vengeful spirit right now, but I think this is just like Landon and who he was when he was alive. And then me knowing that, he can get to those darker vibes. I'm saying this as if like I'm actually casting these actors, but yeah. Okay, getting back to Micah. So his actor is So Ji-hoon. Nicknames, don't think he's gonna have any. Gender, male. Sexual orientation, I want him to be demisexual. Demisexual. And then like Blair, 16 to 17. Race, in this version, Korean American. Appearance, let's see, shaggy, black hair that usually gets in his eyes. Dark brown, almost black eyes. Dimple on left cheek, because that's cute. Then he'll probably be like 5'9". And then style, I think he's just going to be a pretty chill, comfortable clothes style kind of guy. So I'm really trying not to think of like just Jughead from Riverdale, like with the beanie, but should he kind of, I'd say he probably wears darker clothes too, not to like the same degree as Blair, but pretty darker, neutral colors. What else? She had like a signature thing. I don't know why a scarf comes to mind. Like, y'all live in Texas, you don't need a scarf. Don't want him to have a beanie. What's his thing? You know what? Maybe he actually wears glasses. I could see him wearing glasses. Maybe be like wire-rimmed glasses. Yeah, I think that works. Man, I'm just really blanking with him. Maybe I'll leave it at that for now. Job, I've been going back and forth of if I want him to be like a paranormal investigator on like YouTube, and like that's how he gets interested in looking for ghosts, and that's how he and Blair team up. But you know what? I'm gonna say by day he works at his family's restaurant, and by night he does paranormal streams. I think that could be interesting. Religion, I'm just gonna go for Christian for now. Relationship status, single. Desire, what is his desire? I think his desire would be similar to Blair, to find Landon and somehow put their family back together. So, yeah, just wanting everybody to be happy. Misbelief, I would say, I'm thinking maybe Landon was like the favorite of the two families. Just like the more the more sociable, the more, I can't really think of another word, but likable. So I guess his misbelief is that, I guess that Landon is the only glue and that he's not good enough. So I guess that would kind of work with Blair's fear not being good enough. Should I just give that to him? Maybe I should. Yeah, I'll do that. So Blair fears losing loved ones. And then for Micah, we'll say not being enough. Okay. And then personalities, we'll skip for now. Love language. Love language for him, I'm going to say quality time. Because he and Blair are definitely going to be spending a lot of time together as they go through these investigations. And I think he's just really going to enjoy spending that time with her, even if it is quite spooky. For habits, I'm going to say repeating himself. And I mean that in the way that maybe he always feels like he's never really heard, and that he always feels like he has to repeat himself. So repeating himself, maybe over explaining, maybe when it comes to paranormal or like the tech stuff like EMF or spirit box, just things like that. And also just rambling in general. Let's say when he talks, he really talks. For interests, I think it would make sense that he's into true crime, interested in paranormal, of course, interested in streaming, podcasts. But I guess if he's going to be a streamer, he's also interested in filming or photography. Okay, and then fears not being enough. Family, I think he will have both his father and mother. And then I think he'll probably be an only child, so no siblings and then no grandparents living with him. For friends, I think, am I just going to be making all of these characters loners? Is that where I'm going? But I feel like he kind of has to be. I feel like he, before Blair, also just doesn't really talk to anyone else, isn't really friendly with anyone else. So it really is just Blair as the story gets going. Last but not least, there's Landon. Actor is Lee Do-hyun. And Landon. So Landon is basically my idea of like the second lead in a K-drama, in that you want him to get the girl, but you know he's not going to because it's just not meant to be, so he's tragic in that sense. But he also just can't get the girl because he is dead and he's going to stay dead. I'm not going to pull some twist where he's actually in a coma or there's some magical revival. He's dead, and Bro's gonna stay that way. So, yeah. Nickname, I'm just gonna skip again. I think none of them are gonna have nicknames. So, gender male, sexual orientation, he's going to be straight. Age, I'm still trying to think of when he passed away. So, if it's like a year before the novella starts, and these characters are now 16 to 17, I guess he would then be 15 to 16. I think 15 is a little too young for this, though, so I would say 16. And then race, Korean American. And then appearance, I would say neatly combed black hair. And then dark brown eyes. What do you call that? Is it called the Cupid's bow mouth? I really like that. Cupid's bow mouth. And then I think he's going to be a little taller than Micah, so maybe he'll be 6'1". Style, I think Landon would have probably been involved in sports. He would have been more of a jock, so I think he would have athletic wear. So kind of just like mostly like a lot of sweatshirts, sweatpants. And then I want him to have some kind of trinket. Maybe a necklace, some kind of necklace of special value. I'm not sure why it's special yet. For job, he is the resident ghost. Religion, I'd say he probably grew up Christian, like the rest of his family. And relationship status, single. Desire to figure out how he died and to move on. Does he really want to move on, though? Is that going to be a thing? For now, let's just say figure out how he died. Misbelief. Well, you know what? Maybe going with the temporary theme I have. Maybe his misbelief is that he thinks if he does move on, Blair will forget about him. I think that would be interesting. And then skipping personality again. Love language, I think I'm going to make it the same as Blair. So I think they're both physical touch. I think his habits are going to be sarcasm, constantly joking, and then when he's hurting, especially when he's hurting. Yeah, I think that's good for now. Interests, I'd say, like, before his ghosty life, he was into sports, he was into debate. Now that I'm thinking about it, it is interesting me pairing this jock character with the goth character. And I like that. Which I guess, I feel like if this were a 90s movie, it would be like, oh, opposites attract. It's these different cliques coming together. But when I was in high school, I feel like all the cliques just kind of, dispersed and mingled with each other. Like, even though I was more on the wannabe goth side, I hung out with a lot of like athletic folks, hung out with a lot of artsy folks. Maybe what they'll have in common is that they're both very much into horror films and fiction and paranormal, of course. So that's something that kind of tied them together. And then fears. Not leaving his mark on the world. Again, tying back to that misbelief. And then family, he has his dad. He has his mom, who, do I want her to be deceased, or maybe his parents are just divorced? I think I want to say deceased. Maybe, for now. And then stepmother, and then only child. And so, with the stepmother, I think it would only make sense if no one knows that the stepmother initially had those 3 other children, because obviously then people would kind of see a motive there. So I think no one would know except the dad, because the dad is helping with her crimes. But yeah, as far as Landon knows, yeah, he's the only child. Friends, Blair, I'm going to say best friend with Blair, but I think he would be a little more popular, probably have more friends. But I would say they're more like acquaintances. So he'll have his teammates, he'll have other acquaintances. Can I spell acquaintances? I can. Okay. So he'll have other people in his life, but Blair is his best friend. I like what I'm having here. I think I'm feeling pretty good about the characters, even though I still don't know them too well. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place, and yeah, I think I'm going to stop here. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed brainstorming with me today. I think it's always nice to kind of get away from the pressure from my main project and, just have fun, get those creative juices flowing again, and, just kind of working through random thoughts, knowing things don't have to be perfect. I know things don't have to be perfect with my other project either. It's just, it's hard to deal with sometimes. So I think I'm ready to jump back to Project Psychic, and I am pretty close to finishing the chapter outline. I can't wait to get back into draft 2, eventually work this story in. There's a lot to do, so yeah, I better get to it, I guess. And I'll talk to you guys next time. I wish you guys the best. Bye-bye.